to For the Record. We're here with Rod Schroder, the Superintendent of Amarillo Independent School District. And John will start us off with our first question.
Rod, thanks for joining us.
You bet.
Let's start with school finance. Is there a school funding mechanism out there that can rid the state of its Robin Hood system, and where the so-called rich districts give up money for poor districts?
There are really two ways to solve the problem. One, either you take money away from those people, which is even more of a Robin Hood plan, and equalize it, or you put more money into the system. That's basically the two solutions now that have been shared, during legislative sessions. Senator Duncan has a statewide property tax plan whereby you would collect that revenue and then disperse it evenly across the state. Of course, a statewide property tax has tremendous ramifications. It can be debated, for and against, I'm sure, by various groups of people. But it's very difficult when you're trying to fund 1,100 school districts in the state of Texas that all are different. And believe me, you would think that there would be commonalities among districts where you could group them together, but we find it very difficult to even group AISD with a group of districts in the state of Texas, because everybody's got a little different population mix and challenges. So it's a tough problem.
As you know, the state income tax is, for all intents and purposes, a non-starter. But absent an income tax, is there a funding mechanism that can be derived or devised that doesn't pose the kinds of problems that, say, a state property tax would?
There are not a lot of choices, honestly, John. Years ago we tried the county education districts, and that was, I'm not sure, Lee, you probably don't remember that, or you weren't even here. But it was a way to try to break the state up into regions and then fund those regions with a county tax and then a state supplemental plus the local. And that had some merit in terms of equalizing revenue. That's the real problem. We're basing our revenue off of property tax, and they try to equalize that, and that's where you get these tremendous swings in what a district gets. And then it also drives the state cost up if they try to equalize it up to the same dollar, because some of these districts have very rich tax bases, and so their per pupil revenue is very high. So I just don't know that there's a real good solution to it.
I wanted to talk to you about No Child Left Behind. The 100% proficiency requirements are coming up. The 100% graduation requirements are coming up. 2014 isn't far away. It's obvious that schools aren't going to make that standard. So what does that mean? What's going to be the result of failing to make that standard?
If the law stays as it is and Texas does not get a waiver, then essentially every school in the state of Texas will be on the AYP list. And that starts a series of consequences that extend over 5 years, with the fifth year being shutting the school down or firing all of the employees in that school and trying to reconstitute it, or turning that school over to a private entity. So they're just dire, if it continues on out.
So what is the solution to that problem?
Well, the law is really almost, it's just simply ridiculous to use the word, because we have a new assessment system in the state of Texas, and it's much more rigorous than it's ever been. And so to expect 100% passage in 2 years is ridiculous. And it's got to be changed, but we don't seem to have the political will in Washington to do something.
And what does that mean? So that it means lawmakers have to step up, or does it mean that the state has to say, we're not going to do it?
Well, right now, school districts are asking the governor to try to get a waiver. Secretary Duncan has said that he would entertain a waiver, but the problem that the governor has is that Washington has some strings attached to that. And the governor does not want to be beholden to, Washington, and that's really what you end up doing. So I think it's really going to have to be a legislative solution.
In Washington.
In Washington. Unfortunately, what I see going on, I think 33 states have got a waiver. And so the pressure to change the law is diminished somewhat because of those 33 states, which means if Texas does not get one of those waivers, the burden really falls upon us. And that's what I sort of fear and worry about a little bit.
And part of what the law aims for, I'm assuming that a lot of people agree with, including you, and that's basically establishing accountability. So how can that be done in a way that works?
Well, accountability is good. I'm really on the side of accountability. I think we need to have goals, and we need to improve our instruction. And if you look back over the history of accountability, we've certainly done that. But we need to have an accountability system that's really based not just on one test, and that's really all of the systems we have are based upon one test on one day. And we need to have more inputs into the accountability system to make something that's, I think, a little more fair. Because there's a tremendous amount of pressure put up on students and teachers for that one day that they're taking that particular test.
Rod, those of us who've been around a while remember House Bill 72, and that essentially mandated one test,
right.
A single test.
Right.
Was that a mistake?
Well, I'm a testing proponent. You have to have tests, but I think it's the way those tests are used that really can be fixed. For example, if you'll allow me, I'll move into what the current law is for the state of Texas in graduation. We now have a law where last year's ninth graders have to pass 15 tests to graduate. And each of those are one-day tests, just like we're talking about. So people will say, well, get rid of the test. No, it's not the test that's the problem. It is the way the test is being used for graduation. And jumping over 15 hurdles starting when you're a ninth grader and just new to a high school is a pretty daunting task. And if those kids fail a couple of those tests, what we're fearful of, especially if they're at-risk kids, they'll just say, you know what, this is not worth it. And when I can get a GED or have a driver's license, I'm going to get out of here, which means our dropout rates are going to go up. That's what we're worried about.
I'll ask one more. I had a parent write me after my column ran Sunday, basically asking, what should we do? What would you advise parents to do about this situation?
Listen, the legislators sort of are reactive, and so parents need to express their views to the legislators in their particular area. That's really, really important.
Well, that's it for this edition of For the Record. We thank you so much, Rod, for taking the time to sit down with us.